I think pretty much all my life, my purpose in doing research has been to find how human learning can be made more effective and more efficient. Hello class, and welcome to my presentation on my instructional design guru, Dr. Robert Mills Gagne. In this lesson, you will have the opportunity to learn about Gagne's professional life and key contributions he made to instructional design. Robert Mills Gagne was an American educational psychologist by professional title, and more widely known as an influential expert to the world of learning and instructional design. Born in 1916, Gagne received his bachelor's degree from Yale in 1937, and earned his PhD in psychology from Brown in 1940. By 1941, Gagne was drafted into the war, where he was able to use his knowledge in psychology and his interest in human learning for the first time in instructional technology. He contributed to the development of psychomotor tests for aircrew classification and participated in studies of human engineering. This experience influenced Gagne's later development in his career. After the war, Gagne moved around a lot. After brief stints as faculty at Penn State and Connecticut College, Gagne joined Air Force Personnel and Training Research Center. He worked in labs to develop new psychometric tests and pioneered the use of task analysis during this time. In 1958, Gagne left practical research and joined the faculty at Princeton University. But the calling of more work to be done in research was strong, and in 1962, Gagne left Princeton to become Director of Research for the American Institute of Research. He oversaw a broad range of practical problems in teaching and schooling during this time, and he became a really important voice in education. 4 years later, Gagne moved on to become an educational psychologist at UC Berkeley. It was here where he finished one of his greatest contributions, The Conditions of Learning. Gagne was the author of over 100 published articles and a number of books, all of which exerted major influences on training and educational practices. Among the most important was The Conditions of Learning. The Conditions of Learning is considered a framework for instructional design. According to Gagne, there are 5 types of learning outcomes, all which can be achieved by a specific learning condition. He also introduced the 9 events of instruction, which serves as a basis for the instructional design process. Robert Gagne's taxonomy of learning categorizes learning into 5 major types of capabilities: intellectual skills, cognitive strategies, verbal information, attitude, and motor skills. The objective is to describe the different learning outcomes. Intellectual skills is knowing how to do something. Cognitive strategy is at the core of Gagne's cognitive perspective and allows the learner to employ their own way of thinking and processing. Through organization, verbal information aids the learner in applying previous facts of knowledge to the learning of new information. The attitude affects the learner's action, and motor skills is seeing how the learner is able to carry out the steps of a physical performance. Gagne stresses internal and external conditions that are necessary for each type of learning. Internal conditions deal with prior knowledge. For example, in order for cognitive strategies to be learned, there must be a chance to practice developing new solutions to problems. External conditions deal with stimuli that is presented. For example, to learn attitudes, the learner must be exposed to a credible role model or persuasive argument. At the beginning of this presentation, I used Gagne's first step of the 9 events of instruction to gain your attention with the famous quote by Gagne. Then I informed you of this presentation's learning objectives. These are steps in Gagne's 9 events of instruction, a step-by-step process meant to assist instructional designers with the development of instructional strategies and materials. The first step is to gain the learner's attention to ensure they are listening and ready to receive information. Secondly, the instructional designer will want to inform the learners of their objectives. This creates a level of expectation. The third step is to stimulate the retrieval of prior knowledge so that the learner can relate. Next, the instructional designer will present the content materials and provide examples to guide the learners. The 6th step is to elicit performance, allowing the learner to respond to questions and enhance their knowledge. Providing feedback is the 7th step and serves as reinforcement for the learner's new knowledge. The 8th step of Gagne's process is to assess the learner's performance. This is a final evaluation and also acts as reinforcement. The final step is to enhance retention. In this step, resources will be provided so that the learner can transfer the knowledge and retain it. These 9 events are external to the learner and designed to support the internal processes of learning. In this presentation, I went over Gagne's professional background, the events that led him to the guru he is now, and I went over his most famous contributions to instructional design, the conditions of learning, the taxonomy of learning, and the 9 events of instruction. Not only was Gagne a well-accomplished figure in the field of instructional design, the Association for Psychological Science recognizes him as a warm and respectful man. His views of scientific problems were always open to other opinions and ideas, and he believed that psychology should be used to relieve the burdens of human life. He was a trailblazer in his field and an inspiration to so many. Thank you, class, for listening to my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.